I want to talk about a couple other things right now. So, one is Natalie Harp, which has suddenly become a much bigger political story. And if you've heard her name recently but don't know who she is, here's the background. So, Natalie Harp is 35 years old. She's previously worked as an announcer for One America News, and she's become one of the top people closest to Donald Trump. And when I say close, I mean physically close. She's frequently right beside him. She's reportedly become so associated with carrying around a portable printer to give Trump printed articles and information that people around Trump have referred to her as the human printer. And she also reportedly has significant involvement with the information Trump sees and some of what eventually appears on his social media accounts. And her relationship with Trump has attracted attention for quite some time. It's become a much larger story recently because of Georgia Senator John Ossoff. Ossoff is running for re-election in Georgia, and while talking about Trump and everything happening with Iran, Ossoff made a comment essentially saying that Trump would rather be spending his time with Natalie than dealing with these crises, and then he moved on. He didn't, accuse them of having an affair. He didn't make some enormous allegation. He mentioned her, and the reaction from Trump's supporters was enormous, which is what made the story even more interesting because the reaction was significantly larger than the actual comment. And whenever that happens, politically, people start asking, why did that hit such a nerve? Now, I don't think we should fill in the blanks where we don't have actual facts. I have no idea what the precise nature of their relationship is, and I don't think we need to speculate. But what's politically interesting is that Ossoff apparently discovered an attack that really gets under Trump's, not only Trump's skin, but his supporters' skin without actually, making any specific allegations. And I suspect we're going to hear Natalie Harp's name quite a bit more now because of it. The other story I want to sort of dive into is the fake polling story. And this is one of the strangest polling stories I've ever seen. So there were polls involving Hong and Crowley that apparently turned out not merely to be inaccurate, but potentially part of an experiment involving deliberately false polling information. The numbers were reportedly essentially invented to test whether false or even poisoned polling information could make its way into the political information ecosystem. And if that's accurate, that's really a huge problem. Now, these are very good pollsters. They're established, methodologies. They're people who have spent their entire careers studying how to measure public opinion. And the lesson here is who conducts the poll really matters. Who paid for it? What was their methodology? How large was the sample? Was it registered voters or likely voters? How were people contacted? Is this a pollster with an established record? Because a number of percentage, a number with a percentage next to it isn't automatically meaningful. And if we're entering into this era where people are intentionally injecting fake polling information into the system just to see how far it travels, then we need to become much more discerning about what we repeat, what we talk about. And this brings me to Trump's approval and the actual polling around Trump. According to the numbers referenced in the material I was going over this morning, Trump's approval has fallen into the low 30s. And what's noticeable isn't simply the top line number, it's where he's losing support. So he's reportedly hemorrhaging support across groups that really got him the win in 2024. And then you have increasing, dissatisfaction among military families as well. And Iran is playing a major part in this. People were told, this thing with Iran would be quick. And it hasn't. Energy prices are becoming an issue. American service members are now dealing with extended deployments. The Strait of Hormuz still remains a very serious problem. And, there is not an obvious resolution. And that's a terrible political combination for any president. But Trump has another problem as well. We're heading into the midterms. And this is something I want everyone to understand before we get any closer to election day. So, American elections are primarily administered by states and local governments. The president does not run our election. Our state does, our country does, our local election officials do. And that decentralization is intentional. The Justice Department under Trump has reportedly brought 23 cases seeking access to control our state voter roll information. And according to the material that I was reading, the administration has lost all 23 cases. That's 0 for 23. And honestly, that's really significant because there are limits on what the federal executive branch can simply demand from states when it comes to elections. But now we're also hearing about plans to send as many as 1,000 observers to polling locations. And this is concerning because it brings intimidation. Now, election observation can be perfectly legitimate, but again, where are they being deployed? What authority do they have? What are they instructed to do? Are there actions facilitating voting or making lawful voters feel intimidated? That's what we need to watch, because there are much quieter ways to affect elections than changing somebody's vote. You can make voting harder. You can reduce polling locations. You can create enormous lines in certain neighborhoods. You can make ballots easier to access in one place than another. And those decisions are often made locally, which is why people really need to start paying attention to our local election infrastructure that we have right now. Get into it. See what's happening at the state and local level. Get a part of it. Let's keep doing our part. Tune in next time, and please like and subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you in the next video.